Okay, y'all. Um, it's some things that God said, and I'm bothered right now in my spirit against a Caucasian woman named Cynthia Olvera, who has my son. God, he said it was my apartment. When I was in the jail, God said that was her apartment. He was yelling at Cynthia Olvera. Now, Cynthia Olvera told me in the spirit that she was a Satanist and a witch, and that she had sold her soul to the devil, to Satan, a long time ago, and that she was in the Illuminati. And God was yelling at Cynthia while they had me in the back of this jail, denying my pregnancy, denying me medical care, and trying to falsify evidence on my case about me protecting myself. They were covering up and tampering with the evidence while I was back there. And then there were forms of inmate abuse while I was back there. They had people making up lies and stories that was not even there when her son was attacking me. So I'm just going to go to what God said, because I can try to defend myself all day long and people won't care. People can talk about me all day long and I don't care. But when God say something, it like shut everybody up and it closes the case, you know. God was yelling at Cynthia Olvera in the spirit, and he said that was her apartment. That was her apartment. And Austin going to jail for a long time. And he gonna learn a lot of lessons in jail for abusing women. And that came from God. And I was very happy that he stood up for me, because my evil, wicked ass family had me back there ignoring my phone calls, calling white Caucasian Cynthia Olvera and cooning. While these KKK folk had me back there lying on my case trying to kill me. And that's why I don't like them. And I never will. But God did stand up for me, and it meant a lot to me, because you had celebrities doing witchcraft attacks on me while I was back there trying to kill me in the spirit for white people, because they worship white people and because they scared of white people. They was back there trying to help white people kill a 28-year-old mother that was pregnant, doing witchcraft, because they couldn't stand the real story. Because in the media, they got to portray black women as the shitholes of society. But what happens when a white man is the shithole and the white people in the community was a shithole and they was all bothering an innocent black woman and her child? And I was black excellence. I wasn't no woman smoking crack around my son and smoking crack in the fucking projects on Section 8. I was a great mom and highly favored above a lot of the women in the neighborhood. So for them to be out there trying to paint me out the way that they did, I already knew it was the media. I knew when they lied and put a false story about me on the news when they incarcerated me. And then to see all these black people trying to go out their way to try to paint the black woman out as the one who was wrong. They was back there trying to murder me just so that they could try to keep white people in this state of mind where they like to degrade black women in the media, and then try to paint white women and white men out in the media as these fucking saints when they terrorizing people, man. I wasn't bothering anybody. These white women in the neighborhood, they didn't know how to mind their own business. They didn't know how to watch other people live good. They constantly tried to degrade other people around them and make them live miserable lives. And they couldn't do that shit to me because I believed in Jesus Christ, and he always kept a smile on my face regardless of the racism that they did to me and my son. And I even got all the evidence to prove it, and y'all see that on all of my videos that I did about the evidence that I was a great mom. They had white women in the neighborhood on drugs, all up and down the streets. Go in their house, it was filthy. Come in my house, it was spotless. Come look at me and my son, we was always well taken care of. It was always refrigerator full of food. I always took my son to take care of his business and his appointments. I never had men in my house. I was a great mom. And they was back there trying to kill me and paint a story of my life and try to make me out to be something that I wasn't. And it really doesn't surprise me that they did that when I got out the jail. That they set it up to try to paint my life the way they was trying to paint my life when they tried to murder me back there. And that's why I said they need to give me back my apartment, give me back my stuff, give me back my son. Stop trying to pay me out as some crackhead, prostitute, so you could try to let these white people keep my child. But back to what the Lord said, because see, it drains me when I keep telling what they did. God said it was her apartment, and I understand why it was so important, why the Most High said that was her apartment. Because it was my apartment. And I was raising my son in my apartment by myself. Cynthia O'Vera's son was in prison. Austin John Metter was in prison for assault. So the black lady living righteously in her house raising her son while the white man up in prison because he wasn't living right. Yeah, the baby boy had both of our DNA. But I wasn't a shithole and I wasn't in prison. His daddy was. And Cynthia O'Vera child was. That was Cynthia O'Vera's son. I'm my mother's child. And my mother raised me right. And my mother is black. And I ain't never been to prison. I ain't never been stupid enough to hit no fucking correctional guard. Or anybody. I ain't never been in trouble. Don't have a record for shit. Even after the case, I still don't have nothing on my record. Austin John Metter got drug, possession, rape, theft, unlawful restraint. This white woman raised him. And my mother is in the ground. And my mother have came in the spirit because of what y'all doing. My mama didn't raise me like that, so you're not gonna murder me and sit over there and lie and try to paint me out to be a criminal. My mama raised me right, and I spent my entire life making sure that I stayed out of trouble and that I raised my son right. And ain't no white woman that let her son get doped up with needles of methamphetamine in his arm and raped at 14 years old gonna sit over here and take that from us. Cause you trailer trash. If you want to try to pay me out to be a prostitute on the street because I'm black, I'm going to tell the truth. You trailer trash. You let your son get raped at 14 and you let them white folks stick needles in his arm and he got all them damn charges and been in and out of prison. And I had a baby with him, and when I figured out what he was on, I didn't want to be with him no more. So, she trying to use some KKK white supremacist capitalist bullshit to try to switch the story around, because it's funny how black people is quick to try to tear down their own for some white people. Like I told you, it's hard when I try to explain the situation, because everybody, you can see on all my videos how they was terrorizing me and kept terrorizing me. Shelters kept trying to leave me on the streets. Family kept trying to set me up. People was trying to do whatever they could to be like, oh, we got to paint Andrea out a certain way. And the reason why they did that was because that's not who I am. And you can't just take people kids and give people children away. So I'm going to go back to what God said. That was her apartment. Okay, so it was my apartment. I was living in my apartment with my son. We got to that point. Cynthia O'Vera's son, Austin John Metter, a grown-ass man who she treat like a child, was in prison. Me and my baby was doing just fine in my home. I have all the evidence up of that. All of it. I have a ridiculous amount of evidence up about that. That's why they needed to try to do all that shit to try to make me out to be this and that. Ridiculous amount of evidence. Cynthia Olvera begged me. She called my phone and begged me to call the police department and ask them could they get some warrants dropped for him because Austin was about to get out of prison. And Cynthia called me crying on the phone asking me to call in some favors because people knew I was a good woman. And if I vouch for somebody, people be like, okay, because you vouch for him, I'll look out for him. So she asked me if I would call the police department and ask them if they would drop a theft warrant and a drug charge that Austin had before he went to prison for the assault charge, because supposedly they might pick him up on that once they released him from prison on the assault charge. And I said no, because I was in there raising my son and he was a child, and her Cynthia Olvera's son was a grown ass man. And I'm like, he been in prison this whole time. That's what I told Cynthia. I said he been in prison this whole time, and he could have wrote the police department and asked them could he get time served. Why is y'all trying to use my good name to vouch for Austin so he can get out of trouble? She like, Andrea, please. And I said, I don't know, Cynthia. I don't know if I want him back in my house. Because he had got into fights with inmates while he was in prison, and they denied him parole, and they had deemed him a threat to society. And I said the whole point of me calling the police when he went to prison was because he was being violent. So if he's still in there being violent, I don't want him around my son. And Cynthia was crying like, but I would do anything for your son. I would do anything. He was a baby. He was a toddler. It's not a comparison. But just so she would stop crying, I told Cynthia Olvera, I said, yeah, I'll call the police department and I'll ask them if they'll give your grown ass son time served for the theft charge and the drug charge. And I shouldn't have did that shit. Because as soon as he got out, he came up in my house, beating me up, robbing me for my money so he could buy drugs. Theft, thieving from me, and going to get drugs. So his ass should have stayed in fucking prison then. Should have went on, got picked up on the warrants because he was not ready to get out yet. But Cynthia Olvera felt like he would have got killed in prison. He was in there trying to pull bullshit on them dudes in there and got beat up real bad. And it was about time because he stayed beating up on me. I was glad he was all right, but at the same time, I was glad that he got his ass beat. Because I couldn't do nothing when he was in there hitting on me. And I'm a female, so I was glad that some man beat his fucking ass. But being that he was my child father, I was glad that they did not kill him because he had a whole fucking brace around his neck when I went up there to visit him. I was hoping that he learned his lesson. So when God was like, Andrea, that was Andrea's apartment. Yes, it was my apartment in there raising my son. And Cynthia know goddamn well that her son came up in my house with that bullshit. After she asked me for a favor and I had a small child. She had a protective order from her own son while he was in prison. He couldn't even come to her house. Austin John Matter couldn't even come to Cynthia's house because he was attacking his own mother. So how dare this white woman sit over there try to keep my son? And God said she was wrong for that. And there was going to be consequences for that. But I'm going to go into a little more detail on what Cynthia Olvera did. So Austin came out of prison and came into my home and started attacking me in my house within the first week of him being released from prison. And I started calling the police. And he started fleeing in my vehicle to his mama's house, to Cynthia Olvera's house. And coming back, and I called the police. And he fled from the police every time. Then Cynthia Olvera was calling the police department trying to ask them to take me to jail. I never once hit him or anything. When I called 911, she called the police and asked them to take me to jail while her son was hiding at her house. But the police couldn't take me because I ain't hit nobody. I ain't do shit. I'm the one calling. And he started beating up on me, on my son up in the house. And beating up on me up in my house. And I kept calling the police on his ass. And then Joseph O'Vera came over to my house asking me, why the hell you keep calling the police on Austin? I said because he in here being violent with me and my son. And then he tried to fight Joseph. Austin John Meta tried to fight Joseph in my living room that day. And Joseph said he could come and live with him and Cynthia, but he kept refusing to leave my house. So Cynthia O'Vera, when I had to protect myself, I done ran up out, this man done ran me up out of my house, attacking me in the streets. And then when I went to the restaurant across the street from my house, I went to a restaurant by my house. When I went in that restaurant, I asked them to call 911. I told them my baby daddy was attacking me. He came in the restaurant and started attacking me in the damn restaurant. And attacking my baby in the restaurant. The man had to help us. And that's why I hurt him, because he wouldn't stop attacking my baby. So the police locked me up. We already know that part. But while I was locked up, they was back there trying to kill me and then trying to cover up the fact that I was pregnant. So not only was you trying to lie on the black woman about what happened to her and her child and her home, in the streets and in the restaurant, you gonna try to kill my baby back there to try to cover up that y'all back there trying to lock up a pregnant woman for defending herself from a fucking white man that just got out of prison for assault. And they knew I was calling the police, and the police was over there lying on the reports. They're gonna try to murder me and put a fake ass story on the fucking news. So, oh, you were gonna do me like Sandra Bland? You were gonna do me like all these other black women y'all fucking killed in a damn jail cell and then put the story on the news and lie about it? I was back there screaming the whole damn time. They talking about be quiet. Bitch, please, I ain't finna be quiet. You ain't finna kill me, ho. I'ma keep on fucking screaming till you let me up out of here. And so, while I was back there, they just kept conspiring. All the white girl inmates who kept trying to fight me. They kept trying to keep finding a reason to try to jump on me and try to kill my baby. And Cynthia O'Vera was trying to help the Conroe police erase the evidence. And she was over there talking about, well, she ain't gonna have no evidence to prove that my son did nothing to her. And what they did was, when they realized that the truth was going to come out, that he was abusing me and that I'm pregnant, they decided, okay, well, let's take her to family court and do some litigation abuse. First of all, let me give y'all a definition of what litigation abuse really is. If you look up litigation abuse, it's when people use the court system to try to force a victim and a child who was a victim to be in contact with an abuser. If you ever seen the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez in it, Jennifer Lopez's husband was abusing her and the little girl, their little girl. And the husband was a white Caucasian male who had a lot of money. And he was using the court system to try to do custody stuff as far as Jennifer Lopez and her daughter, where he was going to be trying to follow Jennifer Lopez and kill her. There's no reason why she should have had any contact with her abuser through the court system. And that's litigation abuse. When the court has all the evidence of this man abusing this woman and my baby daddy abusing me and my son, they should not have tried to make us still stay in contact with him instead of just going on ahead, charging him and convicting him. They had the evidence of that. But because he's white and Cynthia O'Vera is white and white people can't stand to admit when they wrong for something or when they made mistakes, everybody was trying to cover it up and flip it around. And so they went to family court. Criminal court is when you have criminal charges. So for them to have charged me, first of all, God said that they should have never have charged me. I understand that if somebody gets seriously hurt, everybody like to lie and say that if somebody gets seriously hurt, the person who did it should go to jail, but not when you defending yourself. When everybody know that you running out your house with your baby in your arms screaming for your life and somebody attacking you and you hurt them, ain't no you go to jail. You not fucking guilty of shit. Ain't nobody charging nobody that's running from somebody that's trying to hurt them. You don't fucking charge me for that. I don't give a fuck if I would have killed them. He shouldn't have been hurting me and my son. That's what God said. God said he is lucky that Andrea didn't kill him. Because you ain't going to keep forcing me to run up out of my house scared with my child. Because after a while, I'm going to protect myself. And whatever go down is however it go down. Because I told you to leave me alone. And God said the only reason why, he said, tell these people why they got you in here. I want you to tell the truth about why they got you in here. And I said, because I got brown skin and curly hair. And God said, that's right. Because you got brown skin and curly hair. That's the only reason why you in this damn jail. She was protecting herself. Ain't no you gonna take her in no damn jail, lie about it, and kill her. And then the black people was trying to say, oh, Andrea scaring these white folks with what she's saying. God said no. Because she got to let these white people know she ain't playing. That she not playing with them. You ain't going to keep doing evil to somebody and then think they going to be nice to you. Ain't nobody finna be nice to you. Doing wickedness to me and think I'm going to be nice to you. I'm not finna be nice to you. Now, if you ain't one of the white people that did it, then I don't got a problem with you. But I know exactly who did do it, and they know who I'm talking to. And they can't go and get the rest of them and be like, oh, Andrea talking shit about us. No, I'm talking shit about you. I'm calling you racist. And God said that was my